Cips clips.
And remember, citizens, always subscribe and hit the bell. Everything will be well with 1995. Plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell. Why does a dog wag its tail? Because a dog is smarter than its tail. If the tail were smarter, the tail would wag the dog. Wag the dog in politics is the act of creating diversion from a damaging issue. Here at Wag the Dog News, the tail doesn't wag the dog. Enjoy.
Cips clips.
And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the bell, everything will be well. 1995. Plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell. Alrighty, boob tubes, I remembered to unmute it this time. How great of me. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day, good eye. It's a good day. Rangers are through to the final. So here in the UK, the local elections are happening. So I thought I would have a wee look and see what's going on, John. And I thought it'd be interesting to compare the way. Now I'm going to use your archetype left-wing and right-wing media, or perceived left-wing and right-wing media, aka being the BBC and the Sky Newsies. Over here in the UK, they're the biggest, could be perceived slanting that way politically, editorially. Easy for me to say. So in the afternoon, everybody, hopefully you do enjoy this, and if you do appreciate Wag the Dog News, remember Monday to Friday, 1 o'clock in the afters, midway Earth time. Make sure you stick a wee thumbs up, tell your friends, family and foes, help the channel and the show grow. It's much appreciated. So, as I said, the BBC's and the Sky Newsies, they've got DVR abilities, so that's all good. In fact, I'm pretty sure Sky News has. I hope so. So, just taking a peek at the poke. Tough night for Tories, in some places Boris Johnson. So, at this moment in time, it's all kind of hearsay because it's not all been counted. You can see here, although Scotland's caught, don't ask me the technicalities, but although it appears Scotland are calling some seats, it's saying 0 out of 32 are counted. So, I'm not sure how that works. And 90 out of 146 have been counted in England, and 0 in the Leak land and the land of the Irish. So let's see. Not started yet. I'll have to get a wee heads up for the BBC's. Stick a wee pause on the Sky Newsies.
Welcome to
Click for Tech.
We're outside again. Sensors to track dangerous hotspots.
The robots are operating like a swarm of bees would.
Good luck to be a cyborg.
It won't be long before we're all living in this virtual universe. It looks like I really shouldn't be having salt.
I've still not had a shot of those goggles, man, but apparently they're meant to be good. Greetings, Colette, how you doing? Hopefully you're good. And Irene Dabble was in earlier as well. In the afters, one and all. Beep, boop, boop, beep, beep, boop. I don't know how much on all the voting's happened, so they can report on
Today
it now.
at 1, in local elections in England, the Conservatives lose key councils in London to Labour, who make modest gains across the rest of the country. As ballots continue to be counted, the Prime Minister says his party is facing mixed results.
We've had a tough night in some parts of the country, but on the other hand, in other parts of the country, you're still seeing Conservatives going forward and making quite remarkable gains.
I never get anybody chatting during the elections. I don't think anybody buzzes them in the front door.
Turning point for us from the depths of 2019, that general election, back on.
My God, this is the leader of the Labour Party. He sounds posher than Boris Johnson. He's a... Let me get this right. He's a sir, I think. Oh no, I fucked that up last time. I was calling him something and I got it wrong. But I'm pretty sure he's a sir. Or he's some sort of a... Got some sort of lord. No, he's not a lord, he's a sir. I think that's what it is.
Trap.
The Liberal Democrats make significant gains, and the Green Party has also been doing well.
The Liberal Democrats and the Green fandans just water down our democracy. See, whatever procedure you put in place to elect a leader or a party to lead us, you should... It should be like some sort of a knockout competition, a bit like the Europa League, you know? I don't know why I'm thinking of that analogy. But it really should. And then the final vote, I think this is how it happens in France, by the way. The final vote should be between two people. And then the country can decide between two people. Otherwise, you're getting this watered down vote, and the scumbags that end up ruling the whole country get a minority, a small slice minority of the vote. But it's enough because they've jiggery pokered the figures. They know how to work the system, basically. They get into power. Democracy scam. They fool you, they tell you it's ruled by majority. It's ruled by minority. If you go and look at the figures, especially in and around the general election, I've done it myself. This country, roughly about a population of 66 million. The Conservacunts got, I can't remember exactly, it was somewhere between 12 and 15 million, somewhere like that. But it was a it was a minority. So that all they do is have to grease the wheels for 12 to 16 million house niggers to control the rest of us. And you can't complain because you participated in the democracy scam. Anyway, I digress. France had mixed results, even though Macron had the most results. But people voted abstain in none of the parties. Well, I can believe that. Everybody's, I see that, big broad brushstrokes, but a lot of people are disheartened with politics in general, full stop, and just vote out of habit. Absolutely vote out of habit. And because nobody's offering an alternative, apart from me, declare yourself independent, get yourself a shoebox or some sort of box, stand next to your local polling station and get people to vote us, not them. And then when they stand up in front of you and say, we're doing this because we rule by minority, we rule by consent, we govern by consent, we police by consent, you're like, you've not got the consent. You've got the consent of the minority, not the majority. And then that's when we can go to the... I've said this for years. That's when we can go to the drawing board and ask under 7-year-olds to design a system for us. Because they'll do a better job than the fucking shit we've got fucking at every corner of the so-called free world. Anyway, I digress.
And the first
It's
results are coming in for
elections
Wales
to
and Scotland,
2020.
and counting is underway in Northern Ireland, where they're looking to form a new government. And the other main stories this lunchtime. As another attempt is made to rescue civilians from the steelworks
I would disagree.
in
It's not
Mariupol,
a
we
two-party
visit a
system.
town
It's a
trying
one-party
to
system.
rebuild after Russian attacks.
It's a one-system.
The supermarket giant Morrison proposes a last-minute rescue
You
deal
can
for
have people
McColl's,
competing
the
within that
convenience store
system,
chain
but they're
on the
not allowed
brink
to
of
step
collapse.
outside the system. If we step outside the
And
system,
Will
the system
Young
itself will
speaks for
shut
the
them
first
down.
time about the death of his twin brother Rupert, who took his own life after years of struggling with alcohol.
After years of struggling with the name Rupert. Sorry, is that insensitive? Is that too soon?
Alcohol addiction.
And coming up on the BBC News Channel, jubilant scenes at Ibrox as Rangers can now start preparing for their first European final in 14 years.
They're saying that as if, like, West Ham still haven't had a European final for something like 60 odd years. They're sitting down there in the $1 billion fucking English Premiership, spending hundreds of millions of pounds on players and shit. Rangers are up here using
Hello,
ginger
good
bottles
afternoon.
and
Welcome
shit
to the
and
BBC
reaching
News
the final.
at 1. The Conservatives have suffered losses in the local
And gave
elections
two
in England,
German teams an
seats being
absolute
taken
doing,
by Labour, the Liberal
who are
Democrats
leagues
and
ahead.
the Green Party.
Not
Labour has
technically
done
leagues
well
ahead,
in London,
but
taking
half a
control of
league
3 councils,
ahead
including
of,
Westminster, which has been in
Frankfurter.
Conservative hands since it was created in 1964, along with Wandsworth and Barnet. But outside London, Labour's gains have so far been modest. Our latest figures show the Conservatives have lost 136 council seats. Labour have gained 39. The Liberal Democrats are up 63 seats and the Green Party 24.
See, they just
Counts
water
in
down
several
people's
England
opinion. What the
councils, as well
fuck
as
are
in
they ever
Scotland,
going to
Wales
do?
and Northern Ireland are still underway, so there
Remember
are
they were in a
more
coalition?
results to come. But our
And
political
I've
correspondent
heard rumours
Nick Eardley
that the
has the
Lib
story
Dems
so far
and
this
Labour
lunchtime.
had a pact,
election highs for
and
some,
went competing in certain
lows
areas
for
with
others.
each other, allowing the other to compete to allow
Labour
them to
picked
fuck up the
councils
Conservatives.
they've never held before in London.
Which completely goes against the
Across
absolute
England,
principles of
the
democracy, man.
Conservatives have lost
They're
dozens
playing
of
the
seats
fucking
so
game,
far.
they're working
What
the
is the
numbers.
name of the Queen?
Like Tommy
Some are
Robinson at
questioning
Rule
whether the
Britannia,
Prime
I live
Minister
my local
is
area and
part
all
of the
that.
problem.
And then
This
went
has
into
been
a BNP stronghold
tough
to
night
running for
Conservatives
councillor
in
or
some
whatever
parts
he
of
ran
the
for.
country, and in other parts of the
Playing
country,
politics, playing the numbers,
we're actually moving
while
forward.
pretending to be,
And so,
I just say as
for
is,
midterm,
I'm
it's
just
quite
freedom
interesting
of
that it's
speech.
a mixed set
Bullshit.
of results. But the lesson
In
is
the afters,
we've got to get on with the stuff
Roberto.
that matters to people.
The result isn't as bad as some Tories feared, but the final picture could be worse. More losses are likely in the coming hours.
What is
And
with the
after
guys
he was found
having
for
women's
parties in Downing
voices?
Street, some are pointing the finger of blame at the Prime Minister.
Those in power
Think you need to like take pheromones if you join the BBC News? If you're a guy, so you start sounding like a girl?
in Westminster really do need to take a good hard look in the mirror, because it's the rank and file grassroots members that they rely on that are actually losing their seats tonight.
Right, Jeffrey.
Labour are on the up, at least in some places. They've won Westminster Council for the first time ever. Wandsworth, which had been Conservative blue since the 70s, and Barnet, where Keir Starmer visited this morning. But outside London, it's not as rosy, with Labour struggling to make gains. Have you done enough outside London?
This is a massive turning point for the Labour Party. From the depths of 2019, we're
Listen how posh this motherfucker is. The Labour Party and Conservative Party, you can't fucking fit a piece of paper between them. Especially with this prick. At least with Corduroy Corbyn, you had like a different point of view. He would never get any power, he was like a damp squib. I get that. But at least he fucking was different.
back on track now for the general election, showing what the change that we've done, the hard change we've done in the last 2 years, what a difference it has made.
The big picture so far is some bad results for the Conservatives, but not a catastrophic fall in support. And while
What's
Boris
wrong
Johnson
with
is
that
getting
guy's voice?
some of the blame, there hasn't been a clamour of senior Tories saying that the Prime Minister needs to rethink his position. And although Labour may be delighted
thumbs this
with
clip
their
up
result
if you think that
in
guy
London,
also has a
in the wider
mangina.
country, it's a mixed picture, and some will think the party needs to do a lot better if it's going to win a
Sounds like he
general
needs to
election.
cough to get a man's
The
voice
biggest
and
gains
body
so
to talk
far
or something.
have been for the Liberal Democrats. They took Hull Council from Labour and won seats from the Conservatives in their rural heartlands.
What began as a tremor in Chesham and Amersham
Oh, there's another,
became
sir.
an earthquake in North Shropshire.
Fuck's sake.
Has now turned
They've all
into a
been fucked with the
shockwave
Queen.
across our country that can see this Conservative government come
leader of
tumbling
parties.
down.
It's also been a good night for the Greens, who've added to their vote share and number of councillors in places like Amber Valley.
What they've seen is that Greens have been working hard in their communities.
Aye, man,
There is
Gordon
no
was
such
like
thing
a,
as
he was like a middle class socialist, wasn't he? He really was like let the red flag fly high and all that. That's why he wasn't electable. But at least he was different. But because he dared to point out that Hitler and the Zionists party worked together at some point, you know, stating historical facts, which made people's arseholes go like that. A lot of people's arseholes twitching like that after he said that. Get kicked out. Can I say that in British politics? You know when you're standing in the... Oh, hold on. I love showing this. I made a clip about it. UK houses lobby. Right. I done my research on this, and this was either late 18th or early 19th century when this lobby got done. Right? It was a good 100 years before the creation of Israel. I think even before Zionism was a movement in East Europe, before it got hijacked by the Brits and turned into what it is today. And there's the Star of David and the Houses of Parliament lobby. That links the House of Lords and the House of Commons. I meant to stand for commoners. Fucking not a commoner amongst them, fucking idiots. And that was there before Israel. Just saying. Before Zionism. Oh, I even think that one is possibly older than Israel as well. I don't know exactly the history of it, but possible the lodge that it's from is older than Israel, quite easily. Especially because it got pulled down. Could have been an old Victorian lodge. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the BBC's.
Save seats anymore, only save voters.
There's a lot more to come, with results pouring in this afternoon. The SNP are likely to continue their dominance in Scotland, but Labour could take second place from the Scottish Tories, who are predicting heavy losses.
I've been looking at comments
It's a good
from
way
people
of
who
putting
have
it,
been
Colette.
defeated, who have said Partygate.
You know, it's people that are very comfortable middle class. They know that they're not really anywhere near the breadline. They're not going to be that way. And they've got the ability to care for others instead of having to fucking feed themselves, you know? Oh God, man, what's this? But look at this cunt. He was pulled out his mom's vagina when he was born, nose first. That's why he looks like a wee rat or a wee mole. Isn't he? A wee rat mole fucking humanoid.
Certainly was an issue. It doesn't look necessarily like voters are shifting to other parties. They're staying at home this time. But again, we've got to wait and see what happens here in Scotland.
In Wales, Labour are eyeing up gains, and it will be a test for Plaid Cymru and their popularity since entering into a cooperation agreement in the Senate.
Shit, they paid
In many
the most.
eyes will be on Northern Ireland, where Sinn Féin could beat the DUP into first place for the first time. Nick Eardley, BBC News.
Well, one place outside London where Labour won a comfortable majority is in the newly created Authority of Cumberland. And our North of England correspondent Judith Moritz joins me from Carlisle. And Sir Keir Starmer just arrived, Judith.
Yes, he has. He's in the hotel behind me. He's been given a classic northern welcome of pouring rain and a cup of tea.
The Greens again are just a party that's put, like, I don't know, my personal. Look, do you want to know who used to be in the Green Party? Do you want to know who started the human assault, their assault on manipulating the masses through the Green Party? David Shite, also known as David Icke. A fact. Before he was a goalkeeper, and after he was a goalkeeper and kicked out of football. Somebody was telling me the other day when professional footballers need to sign non-disclosure acts and things with the national secret acts. I don't know if that's fucking true or not. I've never heard anything like it at all. To me, it's in the realms of bizarreness because a lot of people know professional football players, or ex-professional football players, or players that were, you know, they're still among us. They live, and I've never heard anything like that through the grapevine. But anyway, I digress. David Icke was a member of the Green Party before he became Jesus. That's the timeline. Remember he was Jesus? Anybody remember? No, just me.
Which is what he's currently having inside there. This is the obvious place for him to come in the north, with few major Labour gains outside of London. The newly created Unitary Authority here replacing the former Cumbria County Council. Now, there were 46 seats up for grabs here. Labour have taken 30 of them, the Tories just 7. And this is a classic Tory-Labour battlegrounds. The leader of Carlisle City Council, Conservative John Mallinson, has said that the Prime Minister must bear some of the responsibility for the loss here, that it's been very difficult to cut through with local issues on the doorstep when everybody wanted to talk about Partygate and other national issues. And Labour have said the same to us, that it's the national issues which...
I don't know if David Icke founded the Green Party. I never knew that. If that happens to be true, it's news to me. I knew he was a member very early on. Jesus Jones, he must have been... Jesus Icke, he must have been a member of the Green Party late 70s, early 80s. I mean, I could probably just Google it, but I'm just stabbing in the dark here. I don't think it means that much. It was brought to us by Terry Wogan, who, by the way, went to a Jesuit school. Ooh. So you had a Jesuit interviewing Jesus.
Played on the doorstep for them here as well. But it hasn't been as positive for Labour across the north of England. In Hull, they've lost the council, now taken control of by the Liberal Democrats.
They really need to start doing something to...
They haven't made any gains. The Tories have made gains there.
Elections,
Danny Savage,
these elections,
engaging reaction
more
in the town.
Entertaining, don't they?
Hartlepool, one of those traditional Labour strongholds that just last year was won by the Conservatives. That direction of travel hasn't really changed. Plenty of people voted Tory here yesterday.
I voted Conservative.
Have you been put off by Partygate or some of Boris Johnson's going?
Because either Labour or Conservative, whoever, everybody do silly things and enjoy themselves.
I voted Conservative ever since I was 21 years old when I got the vote. And
but you live in Hartlepool, which is a Labour stronghold.
Well, at the end of the day, I still vote Conservative, and I won't change it at all.
Partygate doesn't appear to have caused a huge stir here. They haven't been put off by recent headlines about Boris Johnson, seen here after last year's by-election win in the town. Be aware, though, that nearly 3/4 of voters here didn't bother turning out yesterday. This election certainly hasn't gripped the community.
More of a general election almost, rather than these council elections.
Because it was a really low turnout. Not many people voted.
Or we need to get some good-looking people involved, maybe. You know, instead of all the ugly motherfuckers. No, a wee bit of leg and a wee bit of tit. Definitely bring out more guys today. Yeah.
Are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised at all. I didn't think people do it now, did they? No.
Here, the Tories gain 2 seats and Labour maintain their position. How do you interpret that?
Colette, that's a very interesting point. You're saying, didn't Ike start the Triffer Industrial Complex? Well, you could argue he was very much at ground zero. He spawned a million like him. But using conspiracy as a way of controlling a certain demographic is nothing new. Let me go to Albert Pike. You know, the guy that predicted Zionism in Israel before Israel and Zionism even existed? Before those words even existed, or those concepts? His shit. Pike was a 33rd degree Mason. And then there was a Victorian explorer guy down in Chile who spoke to a Jesuit, and the Jesuit told him all the shite about Pike. And then that Victorian explorer, Dora the Explorer, the Victorian Dora the Explorer, came back to London, England, and spewed all those magical, mystical tales. Probably spun a wee bit on them, put a wee bit of salt and vinegar on them, you know, spiced them up a wee bit, and then sold them to the press and all that all over Victorian Britain. And that, to this day, is where all the Albert Pike shite comes from. No other way of cross-referencing it all, just a wee Jesuit fucking priest sitting in Chile telling a Victorian explorer guy. Nobody does their due diligence on this shit. They just rhyme and repeat it because it sounds great and fantastical. And whether that guy was doing it for any clandestine reasons, the Victorian explorer guy sounds like he was just rhyming and repeating it and making money. Quite innocent, if you want to call it that. The Jesuit sitting in Chile sounds like he was obviously putting the boot in between the Protestant-Catholic divide. Makes perfect sense to me. Apart from that, make up your own mind. So it's been going on for a very, 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 very long time. It changes as the media changes. You know, like that Albert Pike one, for example. The Victorian guy used newspapers. He came back to Victorian England, Britain, when Britain was like king of the castle when it came to the empire. We ruled the world. And started spewing this shit out using newspapers and books and publications and whatnot, and it spread around the empire. David Shite done the same thing on Terry Wogan's show back in the day. It was very much ground zero when it came to spreading this that kind of stuff, opinions on the interwebs, I would argue. So thank you for your question, Colette. That was really good.
Well, both sides will try and claim it as a victory. But what's clear from talking to people here is that they quite often vote one way in a local election, but differently in a general election.
Labour did increase its vote share here, but what Hartlepool demonstrates is there's still work to do if it's to retake parts of the north. Danny Savage, BBC News, Hartlepool.
CMB, how do you know people aren't voting for the blow-up Boris? I'm going to argue it would be hard to tell them apart.
Well, at the other end of the country, Labour regained control of Southampton City Council from the Conservatives. The new council leader, Satvir Kaur, said the cost of living...
Ike is a top-level grifter. Do you mean by grifter? What do you mean, like a con man? I think that's the lingo. I'm not too sure. Oh, David Icke and Alex Jones used to cross-promote each other all the time back in the day. Do you not remember all the UK column mob being on Alex Jones? They like to forget that nowadays because everybody's seen through that fucking mad fat cunt. But Gerish was out promoting fucking chemtrails. That old fucking Gollum-looking bastard was going round working men's clubs with his fucking Rule Britannia boxer shorts on, talking about fucking chemtrails. He's either senile or he knows exactly what he's doing. And do you know an old colleague of Brian Gerish? David Icke, Brian Gerish, and all the old school UK column mob tried to get a TV channel off the ground back in the day. It failed, but they tried it, and they all worked together. Brian Gerish, ask him. He can't deny it. Ask Brian Gerish if he's an old colleague of David Icke. And this guy now sits up there as if it's like fucking News and 10, prim and proper, fucking Sunday school fucking news. Fucking frauds, a lot of them, man. Honestly. Oh, do you know what was actually... Next Monday, I will do the UK column. I'm getting back in the swing of things and figuring out where things are. It's sort of different now. And I think the UK column have their own wee shindig on Rumble or some shit. And they do live streams Monday, Wednesday and Friday. They don't do it every day of the week now. So I'll definitely touch base with their things, because they're great at telling people what they want to hear. You know, they'll sit there and slag what's the political charity they like to point out and slag all the time. Common Purpose, I think it is. And then, but what they fail to inform you about is they are also a political fucking charity. The British Constitution Group. That's who the UK column are. That's the offices they used to work out of before they moved to Plymouth. I don't know if they still work out the same offices, but they used to, because they're a registered fucking company and whatnot, and you can check shit out, which I have done. I've done my due diligence on those bastards. So the UK column, independent journalists, are the fucking British Constitution Group. The British Constitution Group are, guess what, a political fucking charity who have political goals and work towards them. Like Common fucking Purpose. So, why are they constantly fucking berating Common Purpose? Because they're the opposite side of the spectrum from Common Purpose, but they're not telling you that. They're going, we're free and independent, we love unicorns and Care Bears, we're all good, we hate the demons and the paedophiles. And they're really a political charity, tickling your balls, telling you what you want to hear, to garnish your support, to facilitate things like Brexit and the Rule Britannia explosion, which is happening here in the UK. And I pointed at it the other day, the rise of right-wing fucking mainstream TV channels, which not too long ago in this country would have been unthinkable. Talk TV and Great Britain News, basically Nigel Farage's fucking personal TV channel. Well fucked up, man. And not only that, you go and look and who's on. Not Talk TV, man. Talk TV's getting fucking the same motley crew it's always had on the radio. Or maybe apart from Piers Morgan and fucking Sharon Osbourne flung in for a wee bit of je ne sais quoi. But that GB News, man, it's got all the fucking rejects, Z-List, Simon Holmes and all that. It's really pulled out the fucking big guns. And that's basically right-wing TV. It's polar opposite to fucking the BBC. It's less clandestine, under the table right-wing than Sky News is. That sort of tries to pretend it's middle of the road. That's balls out, unapologetic, fucking pro-Brexit fucking TV channel. And I have no problem with that, right? It's the facade. They pretend they're telling you the truth, but they ain't. Because they're not telling you that they're coming from a pro-Brexit fucking editorial stance, which they clearly are. Anyway.
Crisis was one of the main reasons for her party's victory, adding that people's trust in the Prime Minister had completely dissipated. Duncan Kennedy reports from Southampton.
David Icke rhymes with Albert Pike.
Sea City.
Roberto rhymes with
Southampton has been more like Seesaw City, with council control changing hands. Last night it was Labour who beat the Conservatives, gaining 4 councillors, with the Tories losing 4.
Mate, it is Sunday school news. Have you not seen them all sitting there, man? As if butter wouldn't fucking melt in their mouth. And then they're away trying to convince people chemtrails are fucking real. It takes some real fucked up individual either to believe in chemtrails after fucking investigating them for more than fucking 30 minutes away from fucking conspiratardom on YouTube, or going around promoting them and using them as a fucking illusion, as a trick to garnish people's support for your political charity. The British Constitution Group. Google them. I've done my due diligence on this fucking 9 times for Sunday school. Anyway.
Creating a clear message for the Labour winner here.
Time and time again on the...
I call them the UK fifth column. I might have borrowed that for somewhere, I can't remember.
The doorstep, people were really feeling let down by this Conservative government, whether it was over crime or the cost of living. They did want to send a message.
Both party leaders campaigned in the South, a place multidimensional in terms of income, race and politics. Today's
Farages garages. The Vaj Gaj. Don't fucking give him ideas, man. That cunt's got enough pull in the city of London. Remember, that fucking Nigel Vaj isn't rule Britannia. He's rule city of London. People fucking... Rule Britannia, I'm shagging a fucking pole. Do 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 do.
Some of those who voted gave us their thoughts. May I ask how you voted and what was the...
What do you mean, CNB? My left, my right, it's all fucked up. That thing, you mean? It's a star, it's a bronze Star of David with a G in the middle and 2 circles. And it used to hang for the roof of a lodge. And a really good friend got it. The lodge was getting knocked down and shut down and all that, so we're selling all their shit. So a really good friend got that for me, knowing that I like Masonic memorabilia.
The main issue for you?
Yeah, so voted Labour. This whole scandal with the party.
You can tell, man. You would have voted Jeremy Corbyn.
Whilst
or
we
voted
can't
for
see
a hairline.
it's even a part of the world, there are people having parties.
What was the main issue for you for voting?
The war in Ukraine and this what's going on in that country.
K9, what's it? I remember I did hear the details about the Jimmy Savile thing. And I forgot it. Can you remember the details?
As well, and the issues.
That's what he got his first shit for. Dealing with that whole investigation. Wasn't it? He was given... No wonder he's been allowed to be fucking head of the fucking Labour Party, man. Sir fucking suck the fucking institution's cock a lot.
After Brexit.
The Conservatives held on to places like Fareham, but lost ground here in Portsmouth to the Lib Dems. The Tories describing it as a bloodbath. Lib Dems and Labour were celebrating in West Oxfordshire, where there's now no overall control. Another of the assorted set of results for the main parties in the south. Duncan Kennedy, BBC News.
Well, ballot counting in the rest of the UK only got underway this morning. In Northern Ireland, 90 members of the Stormont Assembly are being elected across 18 constituencies. More than 1,200 councillors will be decided in Scotland's 32 local authorities, and more than 1,100 seats are being contested across all Wales's 22 councils. We'll hear from Chris Page in Belfast and Lorna Gordon in Glasgow in a moment. First, though, let's go to Thomas Morgan. We're expecting the first Welsh results soon. Thomas.
Yeah, we should be expecting it within hopefully the next hour over in West Wales. I think really the picture in Wales since the Brexit vote in 2016, the Tories have been making gains in the elections we've had since then up until 2019.
Yep,
since the pandemic,
SNP,
however, Labour have been slowly making gains, as we have seen in the Senedd elections last year, where they did much better than expected. They lost a huge number of seats in 2017 in the local elections, but they are quietly confident here. They're quietly confident of winning back the three councils that they lost their majority in across South Wales, and they're really hopeful of making significant gains up in North East Wales, the historical heartlands where they've lost votes to the Tories in recent times. The Tories in Wales, I think, are far less confident than they are in England. They are really worried now about losing their only overall control in Monmouthshire. They keep slipping away from them. I think it will be interesting as well to see whether Plaid Cymru can capitalise on the lack of Tory votes this time around, if it does happen, and take another council possibly in North or West Wales. The first vote hopefully coming in within the next hour.
Yes, as a form of proportional representation.
Well, I know what keeps them up on election night. Roberto
There's some big
Viagra.
themes to look out for. The SNP have won the most seats in the last 10 elections here in Scotland. That record is likely to remain unbroken. But will they make gains? Will they make losses? And if so, how will that play into their push for a second independence referendum by the end of next year? Of equal interest is the battle for second place. The Scottish Conservatives made big gains.
I'll tell you, here's. In fact, I want to get. I'd love to get it on record and it come true, because I think it is going to come true. Sturgeon's constituency is one of the biggest dumps and slums in the whole of Glasgow, man. It's got fucking. It's been in the papers. We're having like fucking Romanians selling their fucking sons and daughters, 8-year-olds and all that on the street. It's quite fucked up, this place, man. I actually stayed in Govanhill at one point, and it wasn't too pretty when I stayed in it. Yeah, I used to call it Little Asia, but it's changed even more, and it's went downhill even more since I stayed there, since I moved out. Apparently, and the places are just all fucking dumbs and slums and falling apart. Now, that's Nicola Sturgeon's constituency. Now, it's my belief that this is kind of getting allowed to happen, and then all the reporting's going to happen on it, right? So as it's getting reported as being a slum and a piece of shit and filth and all that, all the prices right now, cheap as fucking chips. You can go there and fucking get shit very, 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 very cheap. And because it's Nicola Sturgeon's constituency, and because it's getting reported to be such a shithole, it's got to be front of the queue for some form of government investment in regeneration. So it's my belief that this is how Sturgeon's making her readies away from politics, but using politics to make the readies. She's telling all her friends and family, invest in shitholes in Govanhill. Buy it cheap, and don't worry, in a year, 2 years, 3 years, maybe even 4 years, but there's government investment and regeneration coming to that area, and the government are going to do a compulsory purchase order or whatever, so you're going to get maybe 3 times your fucking price, if not the price. You know what I mean? All the investment's going to come in, prices are going to fucking surge again, and people who made the investment when it was fucking a shithole make a fortune. And that's how I believe the politicians play the game. I would do it.
back in 2017, more than doubling their tally, moving into second place. But will Partygate have an effect here? If they drop back, who will be held responsible? Will it be Douglas Ross, the leader here in Scotland, or Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister? And then, of course, there's Scottish Labour. They are hoping for a resurgence. They're hoping for an increase in their share of the vote, increase in the number of councillors, and to move back into second place, to regain some momentum after so many years in the wilderness north of the border. Those results for the 1,200 council seats and 32 local authorities here in Scotland will start coming in thick and fast now. We expect all the results to be declared by late afternoon or early evening.
Oh dear.
Well, at this very early stage in the count for the Northern Ireland Assembly election, the party which is by far the happiest is the Cross Community Alliance Party. It's expected to make significant gains, taking seats in some constituencies where they've never won before, moving from 5th in the Stormont pecking order to at least 3rd, and maybe even on a very good day into 2nd place. The Nationalist SDLP and the Ulster Unionist Party seem to be pretty nervous about how things are going. So where does that leave the two biggest parties? For the last 5 Stormont elections for 20 years, the DUP have won the most seats and Sinn Féin have come second. If, as polls have suggested, Sinn Féin could come first this time, well, that would mean Michelle O'Neill, the party's vice president, would be in line to be the first ever Irish nationalist to be Northern Ireland's first minister. So whether the DUP or Sinn Féin do come out on top will really depend which of those parties sustains the fewer losses. The DUP vote in some areas is coming under pressure from a more hardline unionist party, the traditional unionist voice. Sinn Féin seem to think their vote is holding up pretty steadily. So we're expecting our first official results in the next hour or so. The counting will go on probably into the early hours of tomorrow morning.
Chris, many thanks. That's Chris Page, Lorna Gordon and Thomas Morgan. Well, let's take a closer look at all the results in England so far with Newsnight's Lewis Goodall. Lewis.
Yes, Jane, let's have a canter through some of those results in more detail. Look, London has been by far the best result for the Labour Party and catastrophic for the Conservative Party. I mean, they're almost an endangered species now in London, the Conservatives. And although Wandsworth got all of the attention for historic reasons, in many ways, for my money, Westminster was the far more extraordinary result. This has been a Conservative borough, Conservative dominated, not just a Conservative borough, since its creation, since Harold Wilson was Prime Minister in 1964. But look at that now. Labour, not just edging it, but completely dominating themselves now, winning 13 seats, the Conservatives losing 13, and we've seen other results like that in London as well. Barnet and Wandsworth I've mentioned, and generally just good results for Labour across the capital. But that's not the only place they've had decent results. We've just had this result from Rossendale in Lancashire, not somewhere I think that the Labour Party was expecting to win. It had been a Labour Party council for many, many years, but after the drubbing that the party got in last year's local elections, they lost it, but they've managed to gain it back now. The Conservatives going back 3, Labour up 2. And that's really kind of one of the stories of this election. Essentially, the Labour Party is not doing as badly as it did in 2019. It's not doing as badly as it did in 2021. It's basically doing about as well as it did in 2018. The question is that going to be enough for the Labour Party in terms of winning a majority or even being the largest party at the next election? That's really the question that's dominating. But the Conservatives did OK as well in particular parts of the country. So if we look at Nuneaton, this was a seat which was the totemic result of the 2015 general election.
A party that's
sort of seat that the Labour Party historically might have been hoping to try and win back.
It's exactly what I was saying earlier on.
Edging away
all these fucking Tom,
Party,
Dick and Harry parties, all these every freak of the circus to vote for.
It was actually a Labour
just
council
down
up
the
until
fucking vote.
2018, and now a seat that once upon a time the
need
Labour
like
Party might have hoped to win.
Europa
It just
League
seems to be drifting further and further away. Lib Dems also very interesting, making lots of advances in southern England, in Wokingham, for example. Just to very quickly show you there, they're hoping to they push this into no overall control. A similar picture we're seeing across the south of England. So it's a mixed picture, Jane. Some solid Labour gains. The Conservatives not doing as badly as some feared.
Lewis, thanks very much for now. Lewis Goodall there from Newsnight. Well, let's just get the thoughts of our political correspondent, Nick Eardley, at Westminster as ever. And as we've been reflecting, Nick, there's still some really important results yet to come through.
They're absolutely...
Let's see if they're going to actually cover anything else.
Of people out of the steelworks.
Yep. He's got a red card. He's been sent off, David.
The United Nations says a third operation is underway to try to rescue civilians from the Ukrainian city of Mariupol. A convoy is due in the besieged southeastern port city today to try to get hundreds of people out of the steelworks there, which is under attack by Russian forces. There are thought to be 200 civilians, including at least 20 children, still in underground bunkers at the plant. Russia's President Vladimir Putin says Ukraine should order its fighters there to surrender. Well, elsewhere, where Russian forces have retreated, whole towns are having to be entirely rebuilt. Our correspondent James Waterhouse sent this report from Makariv, a town just outside the capital. But just to warn you, you may find some of his report upsetting.
Oh dear. Well, why
Makariv isn't a big place. 10,000 people live here. But the Russians saw it as an important route to Kiev. This town found itself at the heart of the battle for the capital.
Really? Or were the Russians bombing infrastructure to stop you getting hardware to the front line? I don't know. That makes more sense than them just randomly killing shit.
It's been a month since the invaders pulled back. The effects of what they did are only starting to be felt. Ivan's worked in this uniform factory for 32 years. This is what's left of his business after it was shelled 3 times.
Uniform factory. There's no way that a uniform factory could be geared to help a war effort. It couldn't be made to make uniforms for soldiers, or even flat jackets, helmets, boots. Don't know, it couldn't make a variety of things, I mean. The reason they bombed the uniform factory escapes me.
Друга домівка, звичайно, була, звичайно.
This was my second home, and when you find out that your home is burnt and destroyed, my heart ached and my soul was in pain.
Щемело, душа боліла.
Ivan's described the people who did this as non-human. His Makariv is still in the middle of its darkest chapter.
I know, non-human. Imagine having the brains to bomb a fucking factory that could be geared towards your enemy's war effort. Mental, isn't it? Absolutely I can't understand it. I mean, the people that done Abu Ghraib and tortured these cunts and took pictures and sent them home and round the world and all that, that's non-human. Bombing factories in a time of war is warlike.
A few miles away, we're taken here to the body of a man found in a shallow grave next to what were the Russian trenches. He's thought to be a civilian. Police say they've discovered around 100 bodies in the area.
He's thought to be a civilian. I thought he was Spider-Man. He's thought to be Spider-Man. You could easily throw that in, and that's as valid in this news report. Remember when news used to report shit they knew? Now it's like listening to 2 fucking fishwives doing the steamy. Hope they'll actually understand what that fucking means, I suppose. But 2 fishwives doing the steamy. He says it, I says it, you says it, he says it, I say it. That's BBC fucking news reporting. Yes, here's a dead man here. It is said that he was Spider-Man masquerading as Iron Man. This is valid as what that guy just said. She's pulling shit out of thin air and saying it. Oh, I'm really sorry about this thing. Oh, look how bad this is. I've never seen a wreck.
Many more are missing. Posters are dotted around the town. However, spring is bringing some signs of healing. This week's seen the market come back. I reported on towns like Makariv for weeks. We knew this was where some of the heaviest fighting was happening, and being here for the first time really makes you think of the unimaginable things which occurred. The route to recovery is going to be long and difficult, but it's a path people
yes,
here
I do
are determined
believe
to take.
It's difficult, of course, but we
you
keep
are
on living.
telling the truth.
Our house is destroyed. Not
Shit,
completely,
what
so
is
we
it,
have a
man?
place
That's
to
his voice.
stay, but it's damaged. We'll see how it goes. It's hard now, but we carry on.
And so does this war. The threat of further attacks hasn't gone away. James Waterhouse, BBC News in Makariv.
The detained Premier of the British Virgin Islands, Andrew Foy, has been removed from his post. His deputy, Natalio Wheatley, has been sworn in as head of government. The move came shortly after the National Assembly of the British Overseas Territory passed a no-confidence vote in Mr Foy, who was arrested in Florida last week and accused of drug smuggling.
Drug smuggling?
A teenager has been jailed for 6.5 years for the manslaughter of Dijon Reed, who was 14 in Birmingham last year. The 15-year-old was cleared of murder last month. A victim impact statement read out in court on behalf of the young boy's mother said her son had been chased down by a lynch mob before he was stabbed in the heart. Now, in the last few minutes, the convenience chain McColl's has announced it will suspend trading and has appointed administrators, putting 16,000 jobs at risk. It comes after Morrison's put in a last-minute rescue bid for the store. Let's find out the very latest from our business correspondent, Emma Simpson. So what's happening, Emma?
This has been a very fast-moving morning, Jane. As you mentioned, Morrison's putting in a last-minute rescue deal to take on the majority of the stores and the staff, as well as taking on the pension commitments and the debt. And this followed on from the news yesterday that McColl's said it was effectively running out of cash, and unless it got some extra funding, it was likely to go into administration. There have been talks all morning, but in a statement in the last few minutes, McColl said although significant progress had been made, the talks were constructive. Its lenders, the banks, had made clear they weren't satisfied with the outcome. They didn't get an acceptable outcome, and therefore there was no alternative but to place the company in administration. Now, PwC has been appointed, and their task now is to try and organise a sale for all or part of the business. So, of course, they could still do a deal with Morrison's or another party. We understand the Issa brothers, the billionaire brothers from Blackburn, who now own Asda, that they're in the fray. So it's quite fast moving. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But of course, for those 16,000 workers at more than 1,000 small stores across the country, these are worrying times.
Emma Simpson, thanks very much.
OK, elf lady.
For more than 20 years, Will Young's twin brother struggled with an addiction to alcohol. In 2020, his family received the news that Rupert had taken his own life. Well, now for the first time, the singer has shared his story in a documentary for Channel 4. And Will Young's been telling our entertainment correspondent Colin Patterson why he decided to speak out.
Because his music career's doing a bit shitty, man. He's like, yeah, how did I get a wee bit of fucking sympathy?
From the age of probably about 18, yes.
Oh, he's doing a TV programme, isn't he?
July 2020, when he killed
himself. Why the fuck... This is what annoys me. Celebrities think their fucking pain's more special than anybody else's.
What made you want to do this?
Well, alcoholism I don't think is spoken about enough anyway. But also what it's like to live with someone that has
left, right and centre in this
country.
country.
In the family, what that can do to a family. It's a complex thing because I miss my brother, he's my best friend, my twin, and I don't miss the alcoholic. This is the sitting room where Rupert slept. My day would start, I would come in, check if he was all right. I'd normally have to clear up some sort of mess. So either like he was sick, he would have normally have peed on the sofa.
When did you start to feel that things were going wrong for your brother?
The US
The last 3 years, it just seemed to get worse and worse. 3 days before he died, he was brought in to the hospital, threatening, and he wasn't even seen by an assistant psychiatrist, and he left, and he killed himself. And that, I've heard this story so many times. Feeling suicidal is not deemed strong enough to be sectioned. the whole film in a way is an amazing sort of legacy for Rupert. It's really important to talk about these things, and that's why I've done this documentary and want to do more on other things. It's really important. Get rid of the shame.
Why didn't you just get a normal person instead of...
And if you've been affected by any of the issues raised in that interview with Will Young, the BBC Action Line homepage has contact details for a range of organisations which offer help and support. There's the address there, bbc.co.uk/action line. Now, we'll just get some final thoughts about our main story here today. Various political elections. Let's get the latest from Nick Eardley, still monitoring all the reaction at Westminster. And what should people be looking out for in the hours to come, Nick?
Yeah, Jane, still a busy afternoon ahead. Those results starting to come in Scotland and Wales, which will give us a much better idea of the pictures there. But two things in particular to keep an eye on over the next few hours. There's now a pattern of the Conservatives losing control of councils in England. We're counting about 10 so far overnight. It'll be interesting to see whether that continues and whether that adds to more questions about the leadership. Secondly, that crucial Assembly vote in Northern Ireland could well be the story of the day come midnight. Can Sinn Féin for the first time overtake the DUP? There's still a lot to play for.
Nick, many thanks. Nick Eardley at Westminster. And that takes us to a look at the weather prospects. Here's Thomas Schaffernacker. Hello.
What? Thomas
Schabernacker? Some very big contrasts in our weather across the UK today.
Come on, show where's his name? Where's his name? Usually he pops up his name. Where's his name? Pop up his name.
Cloud, and some of that rain is spreading southwards across the UK. But in the south, it's actually a completely different story. We've got clear skies, and you can see that clear weather across the south coast of England, East Anglia, and the southeast.
South Central LA gang members' name.
At the moment, is pretty much crossing the Irish Sea, so the worst of the weather is around Cumbria, Lancashire, parts of northern Wales, and this is where it will be through the early afternoon. But of course, it's been such a dry end to the spring that this rainfall is welcome, particularly welcome really in the south. But the trouble is that even once this rain does reach southern areas this evening and overnight, the weather front just rains itself out. So we've just got spits and spots left. But the weekend is just around the corner, and indeed a lot of us would like some fine weather. So actually starting off quite sunny, quite bright across many western areas of the UK. But I think in the east through the morning and into the afternoon, it may stay overcast at times, particularly the north.
Like the stand shakes, the actual stadium itself. See if you like when the Rangers fans are doing the bowsy, if you look at the camera for the main stand, you see the camera going like that. That's the stand shaking. There's 50,000 Rangers fans bouncing up and down, man. Yeah, hold on, actually, I've got something here I need to share with you. It was just all about erections, the news today. But I was watching this earlier on, man. Don't know what that's like. That's like the ultras. That's the ultra stand. Glasgow Rangers.
Invite us on for another one in what we got 20 minutes here. No thanks. Yeah, at the man get a third. And there you go. That's exactly why. You can't just sit and take it, man.
Scoring, man. But it was a downer at the time, but then Lundstrom popped up. That's it as well. That's what it's like to be in Ibrox when they score a goal, man. It's absolutely chaos, man. Oh man, I need to pause it. I need music, man. I thought we were putting any. Fucking hell, man. Look at that though. See, you can get tickets for games or against pish teams and all that, not too bad, and European ties against shit teams. But so you try to get a ticket for that last night, man. In fact, in this clip, I'll share it. I don't know if anybody wants to watch that, man, but so what a night it was last night, man. Right, I'm going to do the off. It's me done an hour. Touched on the elections. It looks like the Conservatives have took a dent. Labour Party have made some gains. The Lib Dems are the happiest, even though it's not going to have an impact. And fuck, sweet Fanny Adams. Because it's our watered down democracy scam where you can vote for any Tom, Dick and fucking lunatic Harry. Some would argue it's the way it should be, but I would argue it should be like some sort of a Europa League knockout competition. I don't know why I'm thinking of that analogy right now, but it should be like that, whereas at the end there should be two standing and everybody collectively votes for one or two. I might stand corrected in this. I think that's how the frogs do their democracy scam, in the sense that you've got all the parties you can vote for, and then there's like a kind of round robin knockout competition, and then at the end there's two to vote for. But in France you're voting for a president, aren't you? Because it was President Sarkozy. Oh man, one of those stupid wee fucking flies, man. I hate them. I think that's how the French work their shit, and that's how. I think that's a better option, because then you've not got this watered down democracy where there's like a couple of independents, a couple of Greens. Well, if I had my ruby red slipper moment, I would scrap fucking party political politics, full stop. But then you need to then there's the hardcore reality that human beings will always collaborate. So you might not have political parties, but you would have political alliances. So, what's better? Who knows? But as I said, scrap this shit by having our own elections instead of participating in that dog and pony show. And when they can't stand up there and say that they do govern, police and rule by consent, that's when we can ask the under 8-year-olds to design a new political system for us. And it's got to be better than this shite. The Great Reset. It's coming. Oh, sorry, Method. I need to. I'll read the chat for a wee bit, but I do need to do the off. Remember, if you do appreciate Wag the Dog News, Monday to Friday, 1 in the afternoon. I do try and kick off before 1 bells to get the news at the top of the hour, especially if I'm going to touch base with RT. But I noticed that people are in a time machine and running an hour late. Stupid Russians can't even work a fucking clock. Fucking too drunk to change their fucking clock when the clocks change. Too full of the vodka. Right, but let's see, is there any numbers coming in for elsewhere? You take care too, Colette. No, mate, I don't think I'm getting drunk today at all. I've got a wee shindig tonight. What is it? Simple-minded. It can't be called that, I swear to God. I might be well, there's a chance I might be going to that, so if that is the case, I won't be getting drunk. I'll just be taking my fart machine and enjoying the music. See if the guys get a red curly wig on. What about yourself? You on the pish? Right now, what I could do is just eat a big burger and chips. Oh. Did somebody say, just eat? Fucking, I need to break the bad habits. That's one of my goals, to break the bad habits that I've got into during this fucking lockdown, man. I need to get back into the good habits, using my bike all the time, getting to the gym 5 fucking times a week. It's fucking hard to find a gym close that's normal. Hopefully you enjoyed your time up in the old Glasgow Magic, but if you're up here all the time, mate, but you know I can show you a wee bit of a curveball look at shit. I need to check out if the City Chambers has started doing their tours again as well. Well, Roberto, I was lucky last night. I made 150 quid. I got over £200 back. I put 56 quid on Rangers to win at 3.25. Did somebody and all that money was from a £5 free bet from Bet365 that I stuck on Real Madrid to win in 90 minutes. That came in. Then I stuck the winnings of that on Real Madrid to win in extra time. Boom shakalaka, 56 quid. I was feeling good, and I stuck that dough on Rangers to win at 3.25. 200, over 200 odd pound back. So I might get a steak from Just Eat on Bet365. But listen, see, in the overall grand scheme of things, I'm still down money. But I love bet. I get an enjoyment out of betting. I love sticking a coupon on. Not a lot of money. It can be just £1. Just a big, large coupon. I've put a coupon on a Saturday or a Wednesday or a European night or something like that, man. It's fucking... I enjoy it. And I'm no going down the bookies with gingy bottles just yet. Drinks on me, mate. Just clearing fucking debts as always, innit? It's just catch you up time. But I bet you Rangers get a doing after Dundee United on Sunday now. Get a Domino's, you'll be in debt. Mate, do you know what? I love Domino's and I love Pizza Hut. I've started getting back into Pizza Huts recently. You know, I had a period where it was just Domino's, and then I tried the Pizza Hut. So I can do both, get a kick out of both. But I'm scunnered to buy a takeaway fucking pizza. Just the amount of money it costs. I don't know how they justify it, but I understand how they get away with it. Right? It's as simple as that. It's like... Actually, I don't know if I would say I prefer, but it's definitely up there with some of the best pizzas if you get those frozen ones at the supermarkets, the Dr. Octas. It's a German fucking thing, I can't say it right. Dr. Octa, or whatever it is. And they're beautiful, man. Thin crust. I think it's only got mozzarella on it. And I think it's pesto. I don't think it's basil. I think it's just normal pesto put on it, but it's beautiful. I know everybody's got a favourite, mate, whether they like Pizza Hut or Domino's. I went as I said, man, I can do both. For a time, I went through Domino's only. I really loved Domino's, and then I got a Pizza Hut one night, and I got back on the. Do you know what, Roberto? I don't like the Goodfellas pizzas. Their adverts are good. But I find the base too fucking thick and doughy. I mean, the less bread you get with your pizza, the better. But do you know what you get up here? I don't know if you get it other places in the UK, right? I think it's disgusting. I think I tried it once when I was younger, man, and I was like, and it's called different things around different places, but up here it's called a pizza crunch. And what the chippies do is they get, you know, those cheese and tomato cheap ass fucking pizzas you get out of the supermarket that cost like 50 pence or something, and it's like 99.9% big fat fucking crust, painted red with some tomato sauce and a cheap ass cheese sprinkled on top. Well, they get that. Sometimes they like fold it in on itself. Sometimes they just do the whole thing. Batter it and deep fat fry it. So it's just basically like a big bit of deep fat fried battered bread sprinkled with a smidgen of tomato sauce and cheese. It's disgusting, man. Ugh. But I did get a Mars bar supper the other day, and it was beautiful. Oh, and I've learned how to do it properly myself. I still need to try it. I'm going to try it at some point. You need to freeze it before you deep fat fry it. Counterbalance the deep fat friability. And then as you're putting it in, you need to kind of do it gently, slowly, so that because if you just drop it in, it sinks to the bottom, and the batter tends to stick to the grill or the basket. And then if you try to move it, it fucks up the bar. So you need to put it in slowly so it kind of gently cooks a wee bit before it plops in completely, so it doesn't stick to the bottom. See? Tips and tricks of how to deep fat fry a Mars bar. And don't deep fat fry cheap pizzas. No wonder fucking Scotland's so healthy. That's what the children's eating. Ordered a pizza in a French cafe, and they folded into half, crimped the edge like a pasty, and there was a fried egg inside. Oh mate, that's dead weird. Now you mention it. I love watching cooking shit on TV. You know what I mean? Like, I don't go out my way to watch it, but if it's in passing and stuff, I can drool over it for a wee bit. And Come Dine With Me is hilarious. The guy in it's fucking funny as fuck. But they seem to be just sticking a fucking fried egg in everything nowadays. And going, oh, voila! You know, like taking a kebab, a fucking £2.50 kebab, and sticking a fried egg on it and going, voila! It's a gourmet kebab. A calzone. Do you know what? I've never been a fan of a calzone. It's too much like a fucking pig's trough for me. I think I'm intimidated with it. But each to their own. Do you know what I've started doing, right? See, right, remember, like, wasn't it, I don't know, man, let's say 10, 15, 20 years ago, I'm in a time machine, I don't know, but not too long ago, like, when you went to get a takeaway, you had very few options. You had a chinky, an Indian, or a pizza, right? That was the three things you could get. Or a chippy, right? Or you could phone, like, a British chippy. Nowadays, you get all sorts, man. It's brilliant. I've tried this out. I've got is it Iranian food? I think it's Iranian. Pretty sure it's Iranian. You get chicken shawarma. I can't say it right. I've never been able to say it. It's shawarma. Oh, it's beautiful, man. It's dead light. You know, it's no like big fucking bowl of chips and cheese. It's kind of lightish. And I don't know how the best way to explain it. like they do like a lot of pickled vegetables and stuff with it, man. So like with the chicken, I don't know what a sharmwar is. I think if you stick it in the Googles, it would tell you. Right, it was just nice chicken to me and a fucking bread. But the pickled shit acts like a kind of like a palate cleanser, you know. It's really nice. It's like a wee, you know, a good bit of chicken and a wee bite on the pickled vegetables. And they do some different stuff, man. But you can do your own wee exploring on Just Eat. Maybe you stay in a multiculti area as well. But in Glasgow, you can get all sorts of fucking food, man. All sorts. What was it I ordered the other day? I was Just Eating. I was munching out my tits. So surprisingly, and I found this shop that does like waffles and pancakes and cakes, and oh my god, man, I think I spent about 40 quid on shite. Well worth it, man. Well worth it, man. Like American style waffles with fucking ice cream and fucking maples. Oh man, it was immense. Oh, just thinking about it. Shit, man. I need to stop thinking about food. I can tell I'm hungry. Aye, methods, you can get all sorts and God. I'm pretty sure most cities are fucking multiculti out their nut nowadays, man. See you later, CNB. Eggs on your ramen. See, mate, you're cut. They put eggs on everything. Fuck. Pasta, eggs, oil. But you know what, by the way, eggs are one of my favourite ingredients, right? Because, like, see, when I'm getting my trying to be healthy as I can, but still eat good shit head on, I go down the route of trying to get as less processed ingredients as you possibly can. Cuts of meat, eggs. I don't know if bread is as processed as it comes, but you get me. Like, that's the root of cheese, butter, cream. You know, instead of like fucking ready meals and stuff like that. Vegetables. Like, I love nothing better, right? Like, see, sometimes I'll take a notion for a salad, but my salads are the business, man. Spring onion, red onion, pepper, cherry tomatoes is a must. I use rocket for my greenery because that's a bit peppery, so you don't need to put pepper fruit in your dressing. You can basically throw any of shit anything you like in there, man. I love tons of spring onions, though, they're lovely. And then whip up my own dressing. Wee bit of olive oil. Wee bit of... You can use white wine vinegar. Sometimes I use balsamic vinegar. Each to their own. And then a bit of honey and mustard. Now, I can make two dressings, right? Honey is honey. It's there for the sweetness and the stickiness and shit like that, right? So a couple of teaspoons of honey, depending on how much you're making. You can keep this in the fridge for days. And then, now, this is where I deviate from most people's palate. I love English mustard, man. I put a bit of English mustard in for the heat. And it's a fucking lovely bit of heat. Oh, you get the sweetness, you get the tartness for the vinegar, and then you get the for the fucking mustard. Beautiful dressing. Or sometimes they use whole grain or Dijon. Dijon's your typical one, you know, because it's not going to give you that heat. But I love the heat for the English mustard. Just obviously go conservative at the beginning. and then whip it all up, emulsify it, and test it before you add more, because you don't want to have an uncomfortable heat when you're eating a salad. But, oh man, it's just me. I'm fucking hungry as a motherfucker, man. I've not had anything to eat yet. Oh man. Shit. Oh mate, the chinky around the corner for me does the best chicken chow mein I know. I've got a very good friend that comes up from Blackburn, and they take the chow mein down the road for people, show it off. But it's the fucking craziest fucking takeaway I've ever came across in my life. It shuts every Tuesday. For what reason I do not know. Maybe it's the Chinese week Sunday or something. But it's one of the best chinkies you'll get, man. Beautiful. Butter is good for you, mate. Like, the anti-butter mob was... it was a conspiracy by Flora. I'm smiling, but I don't know whether it's just a daft old conspiracy I used to believe that's a load of bullshit, or there is actually no genuine truth to it. But it makes perfect sense to me. Economic war, and butter being a natural product. It's been something that's been, I know it's produced or to a certain extent, but they've been churning butter for a hell of a long time. And Flora made in a laboratory. Just have you ever put butter in Flora? Or it's like, I cannot believe it's fucking allowed for human consumption. Side by side, and looked at the colour of them. One of them's like loomy yellow. It's like you could paint a fucking waistcoat with it and it would look like a fucking high vis. Anywho, we don't need to stay that shit. Right, Roberto, I'm going to do the off as well, man. I need to do the off. Coleman's disease. Oh, mate, roasted peppers are the business. Do you know what are even better, man? The wee stuffed peppers, the wee stuffed bell peppers you get. I think it's in olive oil, and I think it's stuffed with feta, or is it cream cheese? They're dead expensive, to be honest, but they are lovely. But I also like pickled eggs, so maybe my palate is nothing to write home about. I'm going to have a good weekend, man. I'm going to have a good night tonight. Out on the tiles. Honestly, I'm making it a goal to try and get back to some form of normality. I'm really in a lockdown mentality habit. I don't know if anyone else is finding that. And I need to break the habits that I've developed during this fucking pissant fucking lockdown, and start getting back to acting and treating the world normal. And it's so fucked up that I have to actively do that. I would imagine I'm not the only one in that kind of boat that's kind of like because of the lockdown and the things that were forced upon us, were forced. The habits that I've developed were kind of forced upon me. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't habits that I fucking volunteered for, wanted, or even thought at fucking any point that I'd be fucking falling into. But to break a habit, you need to fucking recognise you've got the habit and consciously fucking work towards fucking breaking it. It's like people who smoke and say they don't smoke. You find them in corners like that. I only smoke when I'm drunk. What the fuck is that? And sorry if you're one of those people, man. I know 1,000,001 folks that are like that. That basically means that when you get drunk, you just want to act cool. So you just start ripping your clothes off and stand in the middle of the street like that. Hey! That'll make you look cooler than smoking a cancer stick. See, I'm an ex-smoking Nazi. I could never imagine going back. Once you stop crack, you never go back. Doobie-doobie-doo. Everybody have a good weekend. I'm going to be disco dancing. Oh my god, man. Do you ever shave your beard? And you accidentally go a wee bit too high and you're like, fuck! You need to try and level things up. And you end up shaving your beard up here. Well, that happened to me today. But hey, I coped. I think. Right, I'm gonna go and chill where we Ozark and get my shit ready for tonight. Okie dokie, BoobTube. Have a good weekend, you all. Catch yous on the Mondays. Sub up, thumbs up, sub up and bell up. I might do a wee live stream with my phone tonight. For Simple Minded. Got to see a simple mind. So have a good one, y'all. And I may see yous over the weekend. Catch yous. Clips, clips. And remember, citizens, always subscribe and hit the bell. Everything will be well in 1995. Plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell. Why does a dog wag its tail? Because a dog is smarter than its tail. If the tail were smarter, the tail would wag the dog. Wag the dog in politics is the act of creating diversion from a damaging issue. Here at Wag the Dog News, the tail doesn't wag the dog. Enjoy. Clips, clip. And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the bell, everything will be well. 1995. Plus shipping and handling.